Parts of the US and Canada are gripped by freezing temperatures as a polar vortex weather system sends the mercury running for cover.
I don't know what it is about the winter months. Maybe it's the promise of a new year, maybe it's being cooped up inside, or maybe there's just enough time that's elapsed in summer and you feel invincible again. Either way, it's always the time where active schemes get hatched, and last winter was no different. Okay, so check it out. I just logged into Facebook and I came across this video challenge from a man, Clifford Vanclief.
Hey guys, I'm Cliff from the Hub Bike Shop, and I'm here to issue a video challenge to my friend Andy from the Active City TV show. We all know that he is involved in profiling a lot of sports and activities, but I think it's been a while since he's gotten his hands dirty in a show, and I want to see if he's still willing to put his camera where his mouth is. So here it is. In June, I'm riding in the 24 Summer Solstice race in the solo category. It's been a long time since I've been in this event, and the comeback trail is definitely an uphill battle. So I challenge Andy to ride the 24 solo with me, but not just on any bike. I want you, my social media followers, to help me build the ultimate single-speed hardtail 29er to make it a real test of trail manhood. One gear, no suspension, 24 hours, and Andy. And here's the payoff, Andy. If you finish a race, you get to keep the bike. How about it?
So, a challenge has been issued. 24 hours of grinding it out on Albion Hills trails with one gear and no suspension. Let's see how this turns out on this episode of The Active City. Physical activity. We all need it, but it's not just another chore to add to the pile. Human beings are born to move. It's how we can become stronger, interact with our surroundings, and express our own unique personalities. My name is Andy Hourahine. I'm a fitness advocate, filmmaker, and active enthusiast. I've been on a journey to capture and share the stories and successes of those living the active lifestyle. And now, along with an inspiring team of mentors, athletes, and organizers, I'm on a mission to prove that everyone can discover their true fitness personality and, no matter the challenges, start on a path to adventure, new friends, and a healthier life. All of this by becoming part of The Active City.
Andy and I had been talking about getting in shape, 40-year-old business owners, kids, and we decided to see about racing 24 solo together. I came up with a challenge to issue to Andy if he would race solo with me. Really, I think I was just looking for somebody to race with.
I've known Cliff for a long time, and even though we both come from active backgrounds, we now have the same constraints to getting back in the saddle on a regular basis. I mean, after our work, family commitments, it's really tough to find that key motivational ingredient. So I appreciate it, even though I think he sort of bullied me a little bit.
As we all know, Andy's very vocal in the community and likes to accept challenges and kind of a loudmouth with that kind of stuff. And so it was interesting to see if he would accept the challenge and follow through with it.
Hey guys, Andy from the Active City here. As you may have seen, Cliff from the Hub Bike Shop called me out with this challenge.
One gear, no suspension, 24 hours, and Andy.
Well played, Cliff, because as you know, I've been away from soloing the Solstice for a few years as well, but I'm not going to turn down a test of active madness. So, I accept your challenge. I'm going to ride your fan-built bike with no suspension and one gear as a solo rider for the 24-hour race in June.
Andy accepted it and came back with a counter challenge to myself and to build a 6 to 10 corporate team to do the 24-hour as well, looking for a bunch of new to the sport riders, which was right up my alley because we love introducing people to bikes and racing and getting out there and having fun.
So it's on. We've got some training to do, I've got some pounds to shed, and you've got a bike to build. Let's do it. I think I'm going to start by digging through here for my helmet. See you on the trails. So the challenge is going to take place at Chico Racing's 24-hour Summer Solstice. And this is an event that's all about getting out in the outdoors, endurance, family, fun, and certainly the love of mountain biking.
For somebody that has no idea, basically it's a relay race. Basic format is noon Saturday till noon Sunday. The solo riders are 24 hours. The top candidates are riding 24 hours, you don't stop if you're intending to win. Depending on the venue, most of the courses are actually mountain bike courses. There's some easy stuff in between for recovery and catching up, but there's some gnarly off-road sections. You know, your roots, rocks, single track, some pretty hefty hills. There's different categories from solo, 2-person, 4-person, 5, 6 to 10 corporate team. You have seasoned professionals that have done racing, 24-hour racing for years on end, right to people that have just bought a bike the week before and are out on a relay team. Honestly, the completing the task of a 24-hour race is, I think, what most people want out of it. It's a daunting task. So they get out and they finish it and they're done, and around the office cooler or at the lunchroom, that's something they can talk about after they've done the event. The challenge of riding a single speed 29er is no gear selection. Some of those hills, even the short little ones, after 5 or 6 laps become a bit of a daunting task, so the rider is therefore forced to exert more power. That is the challenge. So in Andy's case, we decided to make the bike as bare bones as possible. So single speed, no suspension. It makes it for a long 24-hour course. Good day, everyone. So today we are building Andy's potential bike here. Today we're building up a titanium Brodie frame. We're going to run a carbon fork on it down here. 29-inch wheel set on it. And this is going to be the build process from frame up on this beast here. Okay, these silly gears are going away. So now I'm going to drop the sprocket on here, and I've chosen an 18-tooth sprocket. Should give Andy lots of gearing. This is our single-speed spacer kit for an 8/9 speed hub. North Shore billet, handmade Canadian chainring here. That is a 30-tooth. Yeah, we're hoping the chain will line up in here once we get the rear wheel in. I'm going to put the brake on first, and then hopefully we're golden. It's Shimano hydraulic brake. Nice fluid brake inside here. So this is a new carbon fork that we've been able to bring in for Andy here. Whiskey is the fork company. Should hopefully help Andy with his carpal tunnel and what's that other stuff called? I can't remember what it's called. We will now rid ourselves of this shifter. Go. Remind me I have a shifter for you. EA70 Easton wheel set through axle. We're going to throw the rotor on the front of it. Right now I'm putting the Michelin tread on. For me, it actually hooks up in all conditions. That's what I've noticed with them. If it's dry, hard packed, dusty, sandy, they do well. I find for the cornering, it hooks up sort of at the last minute as if you're breaking out of a corner. That's what I like about them too. So we have here white grips that are going to go on this titanium black combo bike here. And not so much for comfort or anything along that lines, but more of an indicator of how well Andy actually really rides. As he takes on the 24-hour challenge, these grips will become dirtier and dirtier each lap, and will become a medal that he gets to keep on this bike until they're absolutely worn out. So here we go. We got the major assembly part done on Andy's to-be machine here. We're gonna go into the back and fine-tune, cut off some steer tube, adjust the brakes, and tomorrow morning we're gonna take it out for a little trail ride and see what Andy thinks.
So while Cliff tackled the bike build, I needed to get race ready, and the biggest obstacle to preparing for these kind of events is making time to get in the saddle. So what I've got going is a 3-step technical plan that will get me to the finish line on time. And I just want to share with you where I'm at. So here's my awesome plan. You'll notice it has 3 stages: fitness, fatness, and forness. And what that is fitness is, I figure I'm going to need stamina and conditioning. Conditioning is mostly to do with my butt, all right, to make sure that I can stay in the saddle for 24 hours. Strength, obviously, I want to make sure that, well, everything lasts for 24 hours. Fatness, I'll get into that in some detail, maybe in another blog, but I always find it funny that people will spend $1,000 to take a few ounces off their bike, but won't save money taking a few ounces off their handles. You know what I'm saying? Okay? Forness, figuring out how to ride rigid single speed Ness. And for that, I'm probably going to have to learn some technique from some pros and tune in the gear that Cliff's building for me right now. My family and my professional life come first, but both of those are dependent on me staying healthy, so goal-based endeavors like racing, they do show up on my priority list. I think most people need to be realistic about when they have time and motivation to train. I really respect all those people who get up at 5 a.m. to work out, but that is not me. It'll never happen. So I chose my lunchtime.
All right, so here we have Andy's Brodie tie frame, which is short for titanium. We've built it up, single speed. We've done the 30 by 18. He's gonna test some gearing today. And we're ready to roll.
Wish me luck.
So I accepted a very public challenge in a very big venue. The good news is about this challenge that I have a little experience in 24-hour racing. The bad news is that my last race was in 2011, and there's been a lot of life that's gotten between me and the bike since then. My previous experiences have taught me that it's not a matter of if you're going to break down mentally, physically, and technically over the course of the event, it's when. And how you manage that pain is critical.
Okay, just back from the debut ride of the Brodie Titanium. I'm excited. I'm excited about the possibilities. I think I'm gonna have to approach the trails with a little bit of humility, especially for 24 hours, but I'm excited about the start. Kudos, Cliff.
So I've got a great bike set up and a crew of new riders to support me on race day, and I genuinely felt like I was ready for anything. So after all the prep, planning, and practice, whether you're ready or not, inevitably race day arrives and it's game on.
I think it's in around the 3,000 to 4,000 mark in riders. I think there's 250 teams allocated, varying from solo rider to 6 to 10 person. But on top of that, you have support crew and friends and family that have come up with them. So, you know, some of the venues can push 10,000 people.
Feel pretty good. We're on site at Albion Hills. Gang's all here. I'm really excited. Actually, I'm most excited to be riding with some new guys in the race. So we got Kevin, Eduarda, Alex, a bunch of new guys to ride with me, and I think the bike's feeling pretty good. Let's see if the body holds up as well, I guess.
I think the start of a 24-hour race is probably the worst, depending on what time you line up, probably the worst 5 to 10 minutes of your life. Anticipation is building. It's hot. It's midday if it's good weather. The buzz from the teams and the riders themselves is pretty crazy.
There's a whole lot of bikes here, so let's see how it goes. Feel pretty great about it though. It's awesome to see so many people out supporting the sport, and so many people are probably going to blow past Kevin and I on the first round, so it's going to be all right.
So as it leads up to the start, it's you have a typical start line at a mountain bike race, and the announcer has done a great job getting everybody excited. You hear the 3, 2, 1, and the lead guys go off, and you can see them going off, and then you go through this gauntlet of cheering fans, and it's just cowbells and cheers and claps and whistles and shout outs. It's a lot of fun. That there is very motivating for anybody. It makes you feel like you can win the race.
When you finally take off from the start line, it's a huge rush. I felt great. I'm surrounded by thousands of screaming spectators, and I feel like the man. So I get out of my saddle, stomp on the pedals, and bam!
Chain broke.
I don't remember how I heard what had happened, but I remember somebody saying there was a loud bang. Well, yeah, I was like, oh crap, what have I done? Like, I put this bike together and what catastrophe has happened?
I initially thought the chain was broke, but thankfully that wasn't the case. But I wasn't sure what the problem was. So I jump off the bike, I go to fix it. Kevin stops like a horde of riders to make sure I don't get run over. And you know, it went back on okay, so I thought maybe it's just a little bit of karma to deal with right off the bat and everything was gonna run smooth. I was totally wrong. It happened again and again and again. Just every time I hit the pedals, bam, the chain came off.
First lap was crap. I'm heading up for the second lap now. Had some mechanical problems. Beginner's mistake, trying to mod something before a race without a solid test run. Anyways, paid the price and heading out now. Hopefully lap 2 goes a whole lot smoother.
So we thought it might be a chain tension issue, and we threw together a quick fix to get me back on the trails. Totally didn't work. The second lap was no better. The chain kept, every time I hit a hill, bang, the chain came off. It turned out that the problem was I was worried about being able to maintain a certain pace for the whole race. So I dialed down the gearing ratio and replaced the rear cog with a cog that wasn't designed for a single speed.
So the biggest thing in any sort of racing is never ride on anything new. We have a rule here: don't bring your bike into a shop, a day or two before the race without being able to test it. And here we have Andy on the start line without really giving the bike a good test, and it came back to bite him for sure.
So at that point, it was either bail on the race or make a major change to the bike. So we said we're going to take the cog off. We're going to make a big change. First thing we did, strip the titanium bolt. We couldn't get at the cog.
I think I came in on second lap, and Jamie, who was on the team with his daughter on the 6 to 10 feet team, was drilling a part of the frame out. It was actually the titanium bolt that holds the dropouts on. But again, so it's kind of like, what's happening here? I don't think this is going to be a warranty item now. But at the same time, knowing it was in Jamie's hands, I was okay. He's a competent mechanic.
Second lap in, chain came off again, stripped the titanium bolt, so we've got some roadside assistance going on to drill the bolt out and hopefully get it running. So I'm a lap and an 8 in or something like that.
So thankfully, we managed to drill the bolt out, and Jamie, who was there, cannibalized his own bike to rebuild mine at the last minute, so full kudos there. And even though I was hours behind and I was pretty frustrated, I did manage to get back on the bike and get some good laps in. Once I got into it, I really enjoyed the single speed ride. You don't have a lot of choices, so you just deal with it. And it's kind of like life. I mean, it was hard on my body because I was feeling a lot of the laps through the bike, but it was running perfect. I was actually getting the rhythm, and it was awesome.
Coming in from lap number 2. It's hot, so went through all my water, and we'll probably go out and do 2 more. For me, strategy for the early laps is just it's slow and steady wins the race for me. I have my favorite hills that I pick out, and those are my walking hills, and then I have my sections where I can go a little bit harder and do some stretches on the bike. I have a spot where I take my gel, take a sip of my water. Like you become one with the course, and you figure out where certain things work for you.
Andy was going to keep me real. Okay, just elevating my legs for a minute. So laps 3 and 4 went a lot better. The gearing that we came up with, that we fixed, is a lot harder than I was hoping for. So it's a lot more walking and a lot more challenging on my legs, kind of deal. So all bets are off as far as my estimated number of laps. I'm just happy to stay on the bike and get around the course. And up next is the night laps. So it's always an interesting challenge. So fingers crossed for some good luck.
So night laps were coming up, and I thought everything was good, but our team wasn't over our bad luck yet.
The race was good for me. I felt fine. Like I said, I have my strategy for 24-hour racing, and what I was doing was working, and the lines I was picking was good and kept my heart rate down. Obviously, I could feel the burn of not being in shape. What I didn't plan for was the onset of the stomach flu. The couple of days before, the kids were all sick, and I was okay. Woke up race day and felt fine. I guess it decided to hit me, and being in a campground with that many people around is not somewhere I want to ever have the stomach flu again.
Okay, so it's midnight. It's the midpoint of the race. Hoping the second half goes a little smoother than the first half, although my early night laps have gone really great. Not as good for Cliff. Unfortunately, he's got some stomach flu. Can't think of a worse place to have stomach flu. Poor guy. Love you, Cliff. Anyways, so he's out, and some of the new riders on our team, they're not comfortable with the night laps, so they're going to take some sleep. So I'm heading out on my own. And night laps, super scary, but I guess with fear comes focus. So wish me luck, and I'll check in with you in the morning. Let's do this thing.
So night laps, a different atmosphere comes over the race when the night starts to come in. Night riding enhances your trail. What is a 1 foot drop off in the daytime is a 10-foot drop off in the night. And then loneliness sort of starts to set in, because at times you're out there all by yourself, and it changes the game.
By the midpoint in the race, I was still far behind my targets, but at least we'd worked out our demons and the laps were going a lot smoother. I even had a chance to introduce one of our team to their first night lap. And then finally, it's morning.
Me being a morning person, I don't mind the morning laps. The sun's coming up, it's a new day, the birds are chirping, but you really feel it. It feels like you've been out all night, that no sleep feeling. It hurts.
Okay, so night laps are done, sun's come out. Those are the best laps when you're coming out of the dark and into the light. You feel like there's actually hope. So I'm coming to my 8th last lap, and I'm going to introduce one more new cyclist to the 24-hour race. So Jack Attack's going to take his first official race lap. Feeling pretty good about that?
Yeah, ready for anything.
Ready for anything, okay. Boom.
The last laps, that's kind of where it's at. It's for a solo rider, that's where, for me, I want to see if I can make my last lap as fast as my first lap. Again, that anticipation and that buzz that you feel at the start lap is there on the end lap. As you're coming into the finish line, you can hear more and more people cheering. You can hear the buzz of the crowd. You can hear the event atmosphere really climbing. You come into sort of the last kilometer, and there is an option to do the gator pit, which is a plank across the mud. I have yet to ever even try that. There's a couple hundred people around there yelling and jostling you to hit it. But the energy is there, and it creates a great atmosphere for everybody racing, and some good stories to be told on Monday. But yeah, and then you come into the finish and you hand your chip in, and it's probably the best feeling to know that you're done. It's been a long 24 hours.
Okay, what'd you think, Jack? Was it the hardest thing you've done? Yeah. The champ, right there. Okay, so that's, I don't know, 1 lap, 8 laps, 24 hours, great event. I'll fill you in after, I'm too tired.
In the end, Andy did end up keeping the bike. He met the requirements of the challenge, and we had a lot of fun doing that. I'm also pretty sure that his plates are still on it and the mud is still in his pedals. So I've got to come up with a pretty creative way to get him back out and get that plate off and get him back on the bike.
Yeah, true story. In the end, it was a great experience, and 2 middle-aged dudes managed to encourage each other to keep pushing and challenging their limits, despite what life has thrown at us. So, and we even dragged a few new people along, and I think we created some converts to the 24-hour way. So what the hell? Cliff, if you're in for another lap, I'm with you, I'm in. So that's it for this episode. We'll see you next time on The Active City.
Super great that I get to still do interviews. Ready to go?
Every time I turn, it's much the same.
You got a shot, Jack?
I used to dream a lot, now I've been framed. It's such a shame.
Very nice, very polite on the track. So I'm going to go back for my second round and have fun.
Beautiful scenery, fun trail, kicks the butt right out of you, so it was fun.
Okay, cut. Sipping here.